Good evening. My name is David Bass. I'm representing myself, and I support the bill. Thank you. I served 25 years in the U.S. Army. I am a veteran of Desert Storm and Operation Iraqi Freedom. I use cannabis as medicine. I am 60% disabled for chronic pain from injuries I received in the Army and post-traumatic stress related to my service in Iraq. I use cannabis because it's safer and more effective than opioid pain medications and psychotropic drugs. The opioid medications are addictive, and I would have to take them the rest of my life.
Veteran Shane FALKNER used to live in San Antonio. He moved to Colorado so he could continue his cannabis use for his PTSD.
If I'm not on cannabis during the day, I have a tendency to be really edgy and very hypervigilant and paranoid. And I also don't get much sleep or eat.
I'm a Republican, a combat veteran, a military retiree with 23 years of service. I have PTSD. And I was officially diagnosed in 2003 upon my return from the Iraq War. Up until 2 years ago, my irrational outbursts of anger, unpredictable behavior, they kept increasing. It kept getting worse and worse. Thousands of my fellow Texans and Texas veterans suffer from debilitating illnesses such as chronic pain, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries. And the medications prescribed by the VA, this cocktail, it's not good. Opiates, benzodiazepines, antidepressants, and it's a cocktail, and they all interact. Texans, including Texas veterans, deserve a chance to use this medicine and to do so legally. I do not want to have to choose between being a criminal who served my country for 23 years and being a caretaker and an upstanding member of this community. Thank you for your time.
I'm an Army veteran. I enlisted just before my 19th birthday and experienced my first sexual assault within 6 months. It wasn't the last, and it wasn't the worst. I'm prescribed 11 different medications by the VA. These drugs are supposed to battle depression, ease anxiety, prevent nightmares, and promote mental health. The off-label use of these pills renders them largely ineffective and requires additions of more pills to the cocktail. The side effects of these drugs are almost as crippling as the disorders they are intended to treat. Paxil left me completely lethargic and bedbound. Zoloft, Wellbutrin, Effexor, tremors, insomnia, anorexia. I think about dying every single day. This extension of compassion has the potential to save countless lives. Veteran suicide rates and opioid deaths are increasing at startling velocity, and the statistics from legal states demonstrate a correlation between medical cannabis and a decrease in suicide and opioid deaths. Mental health is largely mistreated and demonized in our society, and veterans are suffering at higher rates than their civilian counterparts.
I started using medical marijuana when the pills from the VA were becoming too excessive for me. 2 new pills per day that I was taking. I was drinking way too much alcohol, and my life was going to an end. And I was able to use cannabis to help me get better, and it made me a better life for my children, my wife, and my family. And it's a shame that there's not just hundreds of veterans like this, not just thousands of veterans. There are hundreds of thousands of veterans in Texas alone that are doing this that need the help.
As I said, my name is Joshua Rains. I was a specialist in 101st Airborne, and I joined in November 6th when I was still a child myself. I joined in the time of a war. We had two fronts going. We had Iraq and we had Afghanistan. And I went to Iraq in 2008 and 2009, and I was in Afghanistan in 2010, 2011. In October 2010, I hit an IED coming down from the gun turret after a 16-hour shift. The blast was a 300-pound bomb, sent me up to the top of my MRAP, and it hit my left temple on what's called the Duke system. It's a radio jammer that we use against the Taliban so they can't use cell phones to detonate bombs. When I got out of the Army after that explosion, because the VA asked me after putting me on 11 different kinds of medications, they said, how many explosions did you go through? And I said, documented with paperwork, 3. And they said, how many explosions did you go through where you were a car length away? And I said, you can't count them. So I have severe seizures, PTSD, anxiety, eating disorders, you name it. I have it just about. And I was on 11 different pills from the VA. I've never made it a mystery. I've never been in the marijuana closet to my VA people. And the reason for that is because I wanted them to see the gradual progression that I had. I want you to understand one thing that you take out of this. I stand with these people. I may represent myself, and I may be here for myself, but I stand with every single one of them because it's my oath. I swore to fight for them. And they're going through the same things, and their children are going through the same things. But what you may not know is when you finally get to do your research, and when you finally realize what prescriptions you're taking and the side effects they have, and what they've done to individuals, not yourself, then you'll realize that my fight isn't just for them, it's also for you.
Many Texans don't realize that every day in Texas and across the country, 22 veterans commit suicide. They take their own lives due to service-connected issues that could be mitigated or treated by the ingestion of medical cannabis. Every year, 8,030 veterans. Between the end of our session this year and the beginning of session in 2017, it'll be about 14,000 veterans who will have taken their own lives. By passing this legislation, we could have helped save at least some of them. 14,000 people, 14,000 graves will be put into the ground. And we could have saved at least some of those guys by legalizing the plant. Today I'm flanked by veterans from Vietnam, from the Desert Storm, from Afghanistan, and from Iraq, who have assembled in Austin to come down here and fight for the rights of their brothers and sisters who are being mistreated, who are being forgotten, who are taking their own lives, and who really deserve a fair chance to medicate how they see fit for their own selves, to take care of their own lives, and to take care of their own families. My name is Tristan Tucker. I'm a 90% disabled Navy veteran. It is my honor to be in front of these men and women and to fight for equality and to fight for fairness, because veterans in 23 other states are already able to receive this treatment and have already began to mitigate the losses that we see every day.
I'm a retired Staff Sergeant of the United States Army. In 2007, I returned from Afghanistan, where I was deployed for 16 months. Upon returning to the state, I started to experience severe headaches, which quickly turned to daily migraines. For 10 years, I have suffered with debilitating 24/7 migraines. I just turned 37 2 weeks ago, and at this point, I have no hope that this condition is ever going to go away. In 2011, I was retired from the Army after 9 years of service because of my medical condition, crushing my dreams of serving my full 20 years. After adopting our twins, my husband and I had to suspend our foster care license because my pain became too great. Over the years, I have taken numerous pills, injections, had multiple procedures, and hospital stays, all in hopes of at least minimizing the migraines. Nothing seemed to work. In the summer of 2015, while living in Washington State, I tried medical marijuana at the advice of my doctor. It was life-changing. I used a liquid, which is considered an edible. I was able to measure out specific doses and tailor it to my pain at that exact moment. I implore you to listen wholeheartedly to the patients who are desperate for relief that only cannabis has been able to provide. For the patients, this plant has been life-changing and in many cases life-saving. I ask you to take into account the scientific evidence that continuously proves cannabis is a safer and much more effective medicine than most medications patients like me are already taking. Please don't let the law force us to continue this suffering.
So the VA has a history. I believe they want to help us. I believe they can help us. I believe they're sincere in what they're trying to do. But once again, they are not putting the research where it needs to go. And I'm disappointed. I love my country. I was in the Navy. It was one of my proudest moments of my life. It breaks my heart. So I'm really glad you're doing this, and I hope that people that see this can just, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes for a minute. Just try to fathom. And my story's not the most horrific one I've heard. Nobody actively, physically tortured me. All those years, I kept thanking my lucky stars for that, not knowing what all the emotional baggage was doing. What a time of life to have to step up.
I guess gets my mind off of it. I'm still, kind of tense, and I get anxiety as well. And I guess with me, I always feel like I'm, on alert or on edge or something. So with cannabis, it does help me relax. It does, help me concentrate on other things and at least forget that I'm hurting or not so conscious of it. It helps me stay active also because, I can, my mood, my whole, I guess my energy is, increased, and just, I feel better in general, instead of just kind of being in a depressed state and, worried or in pain and not being able to do nothing because of it.
Cannabis doesn't get me high. Cannabis helps me relax. Willie Nelson says that really, really wonderful. It helps your brain slow down so you can think. In my case, it helps me be able to function, to go out and function in the world, whereas fear and anxiety would keep me in, because this is a world full of men, and I can't trust any of them. I just had a fun being attacked by one. So it's never a safe place for us. And I would really prefer to be growing my own plant. I'm getting it from a not terribly nefarious source, and God bless them for what they do. I call him my pharmacist, and my pharmacist knows which strains help me the most and tries to get those for me.
What I find is I have no bad side effects. I have something that helps me be able to get through my day in a relatively normal fashion. It helps me to be able to relax enough to go out into situations that normally would petrify me.
Or you go to Iraq and Afghanistan, you come back and you have PTSD, you probably have traumatic brain injury from IEDs or other kinds of explosions, and you come back and the treatment protocols, the non-medication treatment protocols are generally ineffective. And then the medicines, they're put on this, this cocktail of different medicines. And all these, so medications for pain, for sleeping, for psychological issues. And unfortunately, these medications, the side effects are suicide and suicidal thoughts. So eventually that manifests and people try to kill themselves. And the one thing that veterans have found in Texas and across the country and across the world and across their history is that cannabis can be an immediate treatment for the symptoms of PTSD. And that's what they get. They get immediate relief. So if they're lucky enough to not kill themselves after trying to and they find cannabis, it turns out, yeah, cannabis is a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to health, to life.